I have a rhetorical question. Do you believe that a woman can control men? Can women control the man who can make big changes on the history of humankind? Well, today we're going to discover this together. And let me read something what Shakespeare wrote about her. Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale. Her infinity variety are the woman cloy. The appetites they fed, but she makes hungry. When most she satisfies, for vilest things become themselves in her, that the holy priestess bless her when she is riggish. That is William Shakespeare on Cleopatra. But question is, Cleopatra, the enchanting Egyptian queen, and who was she? My name is Mario Bekes. I'm the Guinness World Record holder, and my experience working and life experience comes from investigation, interrogation, human intelligence, basically being the spy. I spent 14 years in military, 5 years consecutive in war, and as well military, state, security, intelligence services, and diplomatic intelligence services, and I'm the author of several books on investigation and interrogation. And today, I want to just talk to you about Cleopatra. Why Cleopatra? There's not many movies about Cleopatra. Nobody doesn't even care anymore about Cleopatra. We can hear about her to the music, to the songs. Maybe somebody's gonna quote something about Cleopatra, but in reality, most of the world doesn't learn from the history. But Cleopatra, today, or 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 500 years ago, there's many Cleopatras. However, Cleopatra speaking today to you guys, Egyptian queen, she was a somebody who didn't seduce one, but two men. Both men did change in the whole course of the history. But before that, let's go talk more about her. Who was Cleopatra? When she was very young, she realized that sex is the root to power and the kingdom. Cleopatra says that sex is the root to power and the kingdom. Despite her disastrous looks, her speech and views was enhancing. The majority of people knew who she was, especially because of her ageless beauty, but many were oblivious of her intelligence and ability to influence others around her in order to achieve her own goals. So she knew it. I'm the beautiful, I'm intelligent, people see the body, but they don't see my mind. So I'm going to use my body to take it what is mine. Her signature scent was jasmine oil, which she used to anoint her chest and hair, as well as bathe her ships sails in. Cleopatra VII was the empress of the Roman Empire. With her political romantic qualities, Egypt's final ruler influenced the history of Egypt and entire Roman Empire. Cleopatra, she was attractive, clever, and sadly misfortunate ruler of Egypt. She was obsessed with collecting wealth and power. Despite her ulterior motives and selfishness, Cleopatra harbored a secret belief in real love, which is why she periodically acted impulsively. Her life was filled with romantic dramas and secrets, but she was also willing to go any length to protect her people and ensure their prosperity. So she will protect her people and prosperity, no question asked. Cleopatra was not always the ruler of Egypt. She struggled to get the throne. Cleopatra is one of the few well-known monarchs who had substantial impact on world history. She was Ptolemaic dynasty monarch of Greek origin and one of the few to study Egyptian. She was also highly renowned for her intelligence. She was one of the very few Egyptian rulers who could speak Egyptian, had sought education, and could communicate in other languages. She liked to hang around with academics and was knowledgeable in astronomy, philosophy, and mathematics. Knowledge is the key to the victory. Despite scheming and turbulence during her rise to power, she remained on the throne for 22 years. Her reign began with some upheaval as she co-ruled Egypt with her younger brother, who was also her husband. Yeah, in those times that was normal. She did, however, eventually establish herself as the independent ruler who makes all choices. Cleopatra, the child of Ptolemy XII, and the Cleopatra was born in 70 BC, and their dynasty was known for having related wives. During the Ptolemaic dynasty, it was common for brothers and sisters to marry, as I said. In those days, they didn't care very much about, diseases and potential DNA problems, and they would just marry. Women controlled Egypt as equals to their husbands and had great education. Cleopatra, for example, was skilled orator who studied rhetoric, philosophy, and other arts. Cleopatra was only 17 years old when she came to share the throne with her brother. The brother was only 12 years old at the time. Egyptian law compelled him to marry his brother in order for them to share power as a co-rulers. She complied, but there was soon an open power battle between those two. Conflicts were exacerbated by famine, floods, and of course economic concerns. Where there's no money, there's no happiness. People are not happy. There was no difference in those times. Cleopatra was forced to flee Egypt after failing to depose her brother from power. She took refuge in Syria, where she amassed her own armed force in order to gain the power she craved. She returned in Egypt 48 BC to confront and dethrone her brother. But there is time for the love, and her first love was Julius Caesar. At the same time, Rome was in the grip of a civil war, and the struggle for the crown between Julius Caesar and Pompey proved terrible for the Roman Republic. Pompey fled to Egypt, but Ptolemy, Cleopatra's brother, had him killed. He just killed Pompey. Julius Caesar had no knowledge Pompey had been slain. He had followed him to Egypt with the intention of murdering him, but fate had led him to the site where he met Cleopatra, and she captivated him. Cleopatra considered Caesar as both her protector and a stepping stone to the throne. Ptolemy's army was quickly defeated on the Nile River, and Ptolemy himself was killed while fleeing. Well, you don't turn back when you are running away. As a result, Cleopatra rose to the throne and became ruler of Egypt. Long live Cleopatra. Cleopatra and Caesar had a son, and they named him Caesarion. And Cleopatra traveled to Rome with Caesar. Caesar was killed in Rome in 44 BC, and then Cleopatra returned to Egypt. Following her return, she named her son Caesarion as her co-ruler, whom Gaius Julius Caesar refused to recognize as his illegitimate child, but whom everyone knew he was Caesar's offspring. Her authority in Egypt at the time was supposed to reconstruct the state, establish temples, and spark greater intellectual revival. Famine and epidemic ravaged Egypt a year later, and Cleopatra needed a strong ally by her side to help her hold power in such difficult conditions. And as you can see, the Cleopatra's life, it wasn't just I'm beautiful and I'm smart. It was continuously fight for the survival, fight for survival on her throne, for her fight survival for her people. And there's so many external factors which try to put her away from her path to be the ruler. But she was always found a way. And Cleopatra, new lover, appears on the scene. Love happens when we least expect it. The passionate love of Cleopatra. And who else than Mark Antony? Mark Antony comes from Rome. When Mark Antony came to power in Rome, he sent envoys to Cleopatra, asking her to come to Rome to be investigated and to confirm her loyalty to Rome. She made the decision to go to Rome, and she did so magnificently. She planned to demonstrate all of Egypt's beauty, wealth, and splendor to Mark Antony. So when she arrived in Rome in luxury, Antony was attracted by her beauty and charisma and fell in love with her right away. Let me just be clear straight away here. In those days, Cleopatra will go on galleys on this boat with slaves, down on a bottom. So they need to bring everything by those ships. Traveling was not always easy over the Mediterranean. Even it does look nice and calm and beautiful, it's not. But she managed to come to Rome, and she showed her luxury, splendor, wealth. And despite the fact that Antony already had a valid wife in Rome, surprise, surprise, Antony and Cleopatra married. So Antony has a wife. Antony says to Cleopatra, I'm gonna marry you now. Their romance lasted a long time and produced 3 children. And the terrible conclusion revealed their love to everyone. As Mark gave over sections of the empire to Cleopatra and her family, Crete, Cyprus, Cyrene, Palestine, and Tarsus, the Roman Senate became enraged. Cleopatra Mark Antony had twins, Alexander Helios, son, and Cleopatra Selene, moon. Cleopatra Selene was crowned queen of Cyrenaica and Crete, while Alexander Helios was named king of the Seleucid Empire. Ptolemy Philadelphus, the son of Cleopatra Mark Antony, was appointed king of Syria and Asia Minor at the age of 2. After divorcing his Roman wife, Octavia, Mark Antony was obliged to disclose his affair with Cleopatra. His displeasure at his act reached a climax when he had Cleopatra name etched on Roman coins. Cleopatra on Roman coins. Octavian declared the war on Egypt, and the Egyptian army was defeated on the Greek shore in the classic battle of Actium in 31 BC. Cleopatra and Antony reached an arrangement in which Cleopatra provided Mark Antony with military and financial support. Now it's time is turning, in order for him to become ruler of Rome, and he promised to return to her the parts of Egypt that were under Roman authority. They joined the forces to fight Octavian, culminating in a legendary sea battle. They took part in the Great Sea Battle along Greece's western coast in 31 BC. In that fight, the Egyptians couldn't compete with the Roman army, received the short end of the stick. And what's happened? Antony Cleopatra fled to Egypt in sunset, not happy, very unhappy. After a while, Antony learned that Cleopatra had died. Antony reacted to the news by committing suicide with a knife, since the notion of life without his wife was too much for him. However, the news was false, but Cleopatra died soon after. After learning of her husband's death, she committed herself by beating a snake. As a result, the Egyptians believed she attained immortality. They believed she was immortal. She died on August 12, 30 BC and was buried alongside with Mark Antony. She was Egypt's last ruler, and the kingdom became a Roman province after her death. What Cleopatra, she proved that a woman can be both strong and alluring, and that she could and can attain her objectives, whether they are those of power, love, family, the perfect eyeliner, or all of the above. Cleopatra, she influenced no one but 2 rulers of Roman Empire. After her death and misfortune, hearing that her husband is dead, she took her own life by letting snake bite her. Cleopatra, she was one of the kind. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think? Does women control the men, and if they, how they do this? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.